You may not think that there is a potential threat, but you won't know unless you're looking for it.
Welcome back to I Spy, a podcast about the intriguing world of private investigators. In this episode, I'm talking with Alan Earl, a private investigator and now bug detector.
We've been required to conduct technical surveillance countermeasures at the residence of high-profile CEOs and a few celebrities along the way as well.
Alan spends his days and nights looking for things you hope he won't find. Hidden cameras, listening devices, and even GPS transmitters. When he turns up with his equipment, it looks like a scene from the spy movies, Jason Bourne or James Bond.
When we're going into offices at night time, there's a lot of going up and down ladders, opening up ceiling tiles and having a look around with a torch and other equipment to see if there's anything unusual that shouldn't be there.
Ever had that creepy feeling that someone is watching you? Hidden cameras have launched dozens of movie plot lines, but being bugged doesn't just happen on the big screen. Hackers and eavesdroppers can hide a bug anywhere, and it's more common than you might think.
You can buy one of these devices for as little as $20 on eBay. So bang for buck, it's a very, very powerful threat.
So who are the people who turn to for the services of a bug sweeper like Alan?
We are very strict on our confidentiality of who our clients are. But sectors that we often engage ourselves in with corporate work, we've done work with federal, state and local government departments, major infrastructure, finance, banking, education, defence, entertainment, petrochemical, real estate, food and beverage, every commercial sector. We feel that we've addressed at some point over the years. It could be a large corporate, could be a small SME, small medium enterprise. What I try to convey to our clients is, if you've got something you feel is worth selling, whether that's a product or a service, you've got something worth stealing. It's worth something to someone else, your competitor. It could be an international competitor. It could be another state actor. So I think that rings home with a lot of people that, what I'm selling, I may be a small business, but my competitors might be interested in my marketing strategies. Or the plans to my next project that we're about to launch.
Alan turned to bug detecting later in his career, after first working as a mechanical design engineer and then being lured by the glamorous idea of private investigations.
And I thought, spying, hiding in the bushes, all camouflaged up. That sounds cool. I can do that. My girlfriend, which is now my wife, she gave me a book to read called Feel the Fear But Do It Anyway. So I decided to just say, hey, jump ship and become a private investigator. It's very exciting. And when you get video footage of corrupt people doing what they shouldn't be doing and handing that evidence over to the client, it's very rewarding.
But private investigations can also be a long waiting game during surveillance operations where nothing happens. But there was one case that sparked Alan's imagination.
First of all, planting bugs is illegal, so no one's allowed to do that. Only law enforcement are permitted to do that with a warrant. So we never planted bugs, we never put GPS trackers on cars or anything like that. But I was involved in a project once, and I was asked to help a team or assist with a team to go into someone's residence and look for listening devices and cameras, etc., which people obviously call bugs. And I'd never been exposed to that before, and people were using some interesting looking equipment, and I was part of the physical search team, and I thought that looks interesting, and it just sparked a bit of interest, and I did some research on espionage and what threats can be used against people, bugs and cameras and transmitters and listening devices. So I literally sat up in bed one day and said to my wife, I'm going to set up another business. And she's been very supportive along the years. And that's what I did. I basically started the Australian Bug Detection Group, and it grew from that basically kernel of an idea.
So do you need training and a particular mindset to become a bug detector?
I think it's important to be inquisitive and have a technical mind with attention to detail and be patient and not be complacent when undertaking corporate work. I went to America and South Africa to train in what's called technical surveillance countermeasures, which is the proper term for bug sweeping. Technical surveillance countermeasures can be abbreviated to TSEM. So I undertook the training in the States and South Africa a number of years ago, primarily on the equipment that we use, and also in search techniques and such like. And over the last 12 months during COVID, I've been undertaking monthly training with a Canadian training facility. Part of the equipment that we use, I use some technical surveillance countermeasures software provided by a Canadian company, and they're providing ongoing training on a monthly basis.
The bug detector's day often starts when others end, and often they need to work in secret.
It's important that corporate work is undertaken at night. Now, there's a few reasons there. First of all, there could be what's called the insider threat, which is where the threat could be from an employee who obviously has access to anything and everything, potentially. And we don't want to alert that potential insider threat that we are doing the work that we do, because they could quite easily remove the device that we're looking for. Secondly, everyone's got a mobile phone, whether that's inside the office that we're working in, or people above in a different floor, or below us in a different floor, or adjacent offices, or people walking outside in their cars, etc. So with that, there's a lot of ambient radio frequencies which can give us false positive readings in what we're doing. So part of what we do is look for unusual radio frequencies being transmitted or being received in a given environment. And contemporary devices have, or contemporary threat devices have mobile phone SIM cards in them. So from a radio frequency perspective, the device that we're looking for looks like a mobile phone. So if everyone around us has got their mobile phones on, we're going to see lots of potential threats that aren't threats, if that makes sense. If there is a rogue employee, they potentially have access 24/7 to the working environment, so they can deploy something, remove something at any time. So they can be challenging to address. If there was a rogue employee involved in high-level meetings and he was potentially selling information to a competitor, it may well be that the organisation might have a policy that you're not to bring mobile phones into meetings. But if that mobile phone was tethered to a smartwatch, then information could be potentially sent from the meeting room through the watch to the phone via Bluetooth, and then if that phone was already connected to a phone call, the third party could potentially listen to the conversation in the meeting room.
When sweeping a room or a building, the bug detector can't afford to miss a thing.
So, office furniture we will take apart, making sure there's nothing behind, or drawers, cabinetry. Basically, every piece of furniture in the office space is looked at some point. People can often be surprised at how long our work can take. We've been involved in projects that we've been in the building for 2 weeks at night time, every night for 10 days, because it could be a situation where the outfit has just been built and fitted out, and prior to the staff moving in, management want to ensure that nothing has been fitted into wall cavities, into the ceilings, into any piece of infrastructure prior to the staff has moved in. So we will be the last people in the property prior to staff moving in. Similarly, if we're undertaking the work for a board meeting, we will be the last people in that boardroom prior to staff arriving the following morning, and we will seal the doors up with a special security seal, tamper-proof security seals, to ensure that the room is sterile once we have left. So the client might give us a floor plan of their office space, and we can walk around the office floor space and capture signals as we go around, and then look at the floor plan within the software and see where there are any hot spots or any strong signals coming from inside and or outside of the property, which is a really great tool to use. And we can do that in 3D and 2D as well. So it's a very handy tool. For other parts of the physical search, we utilize things like thermal image camera to see if there are any thermal footprints coming from any pieces of furniture or ceilings or walls. What that's telling us is that hey, there's a heat spot in the ceiling at a given ceiling tile. What is there? So we'll look above the adjacent ceiling tiles and see that there's a Wi-Fi router there, or hey, there's a bug there. It could be a number of things. If it was wired in, it's going to give off a thermal footprint. As I said before, devices aren't always transmitting when a search is conducted. So it's really important that we thoroughly search all areas, cavities, wall spaces, etc. And utilizing a piece of technology called a non-linear junction detector helps us find electronics. So if there was a device hidden behind a wall cavity, for instance, and we run this piece of equipment over the surface of the wall, it will tell us that there is a piece of electronics behind that wall, and then we can investigate that further. We will check the wiring of the facility to see if there is anything wired into the mains. So you can, the bad guy can potentially use the copper wiring of the facility to convey data through. So we'll check to see if there's anything on the copper wiring. So there's lots of things that we need to do during our time on target.
How tiny is a listening device?
They come in all different sizes, disguises. As I said before, there's devices you can get on eBay very, very cheaply. One that springs to mind is one that looks like and works as a USB charging cable. If you're not looking for it, it will just look like a benign charging cable. But what you don't realize to the naked eye is that it's got a mobile phone SIM card in it. And you can buy these for less than $50. You can get devices that look like power boards. You can get devices that look like smoke detectors or light fittings. But then you can get more creative devices which will provide more functionality that might just look like a little black box the size of a cigarette packet. Depending on what functionality has been deployed will determine its shape and size. But they can be all different disguises. At the end of the day, any device needs power, and whether that's from a battery or whether it's wired into the mains, it needs power of some sort. The device may well be small, but it still needs power. So it's still going to have power running to a mains cable somewhere, or it's going to have a battery fitted to it somewhere. So it may not be as small as what people think it might be. So when a residential client calls me, one of the first questions I ask them is, are you calling me from the house in question? Or indeed, if it's a corporate client, are you talking to me from the office in question? And if they say yes, the first thing I'll say is, well, let's have the conversation outside of the house, or let's meet up in person, go and have a coffee, and we'll talk about what the situation is.
Yes, and tell me, what sort of equipment do you use for these sorts of things?
Well, there's a number of pieces of equipment that we utilize. Probably the most important is our eyes and a torch. It is fun to hear the client's reaction when we turn up with some huge Pelican cases with some expensive equipment mounted up on a table, and they say, "Wow, this is just like a scene from James Bond or Jason Bourne or something." It's quite funny.
There's also some very sinister and potentially dangerous ways people use bugs and transmitters.
We, over the years, provide quite a bit of support to domestic violence support groups. And in that setting, generally speaking, it's where the husband or the ex-husband-to-be has an intervention order against him for family violence, etc. And there's a suspicion that he's stalking the victim, and he may have planted some sort of camera or listening device in the property, and also GPS tracker on the vehicle. And these devices are very cheap to and easy to acquire. So we will check over the vehicle to see if there's anything inside and or outside the vehicle, and report accordingly.
And remove it, I guess.
Yes, sometimes we remove it, sometimes we don't, depending on the situation. The reason why we may not remove it is depending on the situation with the client, because if there is grounds for law enforcement to be involved, we generally won't touch the device, whether that's on the car or in a property, because we don't want to tamper with any potential evidence. So we will take photos and leave it in place, and then law enforcement can get involved accordingly.
Tell me, what's the strangest place that you've ever found a bug hidden?
A few spring to mind. So there was a residential matter a few years ago where the client thought that her property had cameras in, and that we found them in the bathroom in the lighting fitting, overlooking the shower, which was a bit disturbing. Found GPSs on cars, but one that springs to mind is where we found found a mobile phone wired into the car. It was hidden in a pocket in the boot of the car. It was wired into the mains via a 5-volt battery charger. Just a USB battery charger they wired in, and then the phone was connected to that, so it had constant power. Now, the perpetrator wasn't using the phone to listen to any conversations. What they were doing was using the Find My iPhone functionality, so basically tracking the position of the car to find out where his wife was. So that was an interesting one. I found a camera inside a modem or a router. I found microphones behind pictures in an office. And going back to what you were talking earlier about the rogue employee, found an unsanctioned mobile Wi-Fi access point inside someone's desk, inside the drawers. It was live when we were there. So the scenario there was that the employee was feeding information out through his own router in the office, not using the company router.
Technology has also advanced to a point where every day for Alan is like a spy movie.
There is technology around. I mean, without getting too James Bond, there's things like laser pointed microphones, but that sort of thing isn't available, on eBay or in a local spy shop, and they're hundreds of thousands of dollars for that sort of thing. But for the local bad guy, there's threats easily available on eBay that you can buy, and other online stores, which could be used very, very cheaply, very, very easily, if you know where to go to buy them.
That is a bit of a problem, isn't it? The old eBay spyware shop.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy a device on eBay that's, I think I mentioned earlier on, the contemporary devices, modern devices, have mobile phone SIM cards in them. So the theory there is that the bad guy would call that SIM card, okay, and the microphone would then be activated, and the bad guy can listen in. The bad guy could be anywhere in the world as long as they got 4 or 5G connection, and listen to the ambient conversation around it. Okay, you can buy one of these devices for as little as $20 on eBay. So bang for buck, it's a very, very powerful threat.
But don't be fooled into thinking only the inside of a room or a building can be bugged. Bugs and transmitters can be hiding everywhere.
So there is technology that can be deployed outside of a property, such as a needle mic could be drilled into brickwork. A stethoscopic microphone could be connected to a window, which would then listen to the inside of the office, or the room in question. If you're not looking for it, you won't know it's there. What I mean by that is, just because you run an organization and you don't perceive there to be any threats, you won't know there is a threat until it's too late. It's important to consider utilizing technical surveillance countermeasures as an ongoing security protocol. You may well have a security guard on your front desk, and he's used as a deterrent. He's probably never had a confrontation with any potential threats walking into the reception area. The same can be said about engaging technical surveillance countermeasures. You may not think that there is a potential threat, but you won't know unless you're looking for it. So with corporate inquiries, we often get a call from a senior member of the organization, and it could be that they've got a merger acquisition strategy in place, and we're having sensitive conversations in a particular office, and we want to ensure that that's secure. It could be that our competitors know what we're up to, and we feel that there is a leak somewhere. We need the whole floor swept for bugs. It could be that in a residential setting there's been some disagreement, and people have been harassing people, and people feel that they've been followed all the time, so they want their cars looked to see if there's any GPS trackers on the vehicle. Numbers of reasons why.
In the next episode of I Spy, we talk to the PI who has successfully hunted Australia's most notorious conman, Peter Clarence Foster. Foster was so angry at Ken Gamble's incredible sleuthing, he tried to exact his revenge.